Everyone, welcome to Podiatry Unfiltered. I'm Michelle McGowan, and this episode is about implementing or dying. Not really dying, but I think one of the scariest things I ever hear any independent podiatrist say, we've always done it that way. Like, why would we change? So this episode is called Implement or Die. Not literally, nobody's dying, but plenty of independent practices are not from one bad decision, from 100 small decisions to wait, to stay comfortable, to keep doing the thing that used to work. I want to talk about the other option, exactly what it looked like in my own practice in the last year, mistakes included. Welcome back to Podiatry Unfiltered. I'm Michelle McGowan. I'm a board certified podiatrist. I've owned my own practice since 2002, and this show exists for one reason. So independent podiatrists talking to each other honestly without the polish about what it actually takes to keep a practice like ours alive, but not just alive, thriving. If you are an independent podiatrist group on Facebook, you may know that I'm a pain in the butt. If you wanted to join the group, I check to make sure everybody is an actual podiatrist. So we don't have people selling, we don't have vendors in there. I don't have any sponsors telling me what I can or can't say. No corporate messaging, just what's true. Now, I might tell you about a corporate product I use that I love, but that's just me being honest. Today's episode is solo. It's just me. I do want to start with some uncomfortable math. We all know reimbursement is not going up. You know this every year. Another code gets shaved. Another payer tightens prior authorizations. Another line item gets harder to justify. If your entire revenue model is just seeing patients and bill insurance repeat, you're playing a game where the rules keep changing against you, and you have zero control over it. You have zero control over that rule book. I think the insurance model, I'm not completely cash pay. I have more of a hybrid model in my office, and we do see some insurances, but we are not taking on any new insurances, and we're slowly and surely stopping to see patients insurances that don't pay us. It's incredible. One of the general things the general public doesn't know is that sometimes you can see a patient and never get paid from their insurance company. So just kind of going back to that rule book, you don't have control over that. So the more that you can implement in your office services your patients want, but you can't be afraid to do it. And that's what this podcast is about. This is really the one lever independent podiatrists can pull without asking anybody's permission. You need to be willing to build something new, put your name on it, and be uncomfortable for a while. That's really what implement or die means. It's not about being aggressive. It's about being willing to change before you're forced to. I talked about this before. I did surgery for 20 years and I just stopped altogether. After 20 years, I enjoyed it for a real long time. I think it was definitely a season in my career. I think for a lot of us, surgery is how a lot of us were trained to think about value. The more complex the case, the more real the medicine was, especially in podiatry. I think podiatry is often trying to prove itself. And you don't have to. The people who know your training and your skill level, you just don't have to do that anymore. I'm not trying to talk anybody out of doing surgery that's enjoying it, but I do encourage everybody that is doing surgery to implement some other parts to your practice. You don't want to be like I was. You don't want to be in your practice 25 years and then say, hey, you know what? I really should have added custom orthotics. I really should have added some biologicals into my practice. I really should have added a laser, soft wave. Not all at once, but these are things that can help your patients. These are modalities that your patients are looking for and they work. So not offering them and only offering surgery is a bad option. I can tell you that. And I know that this is not as easy for doctors who may be in a hospital-based practice or who might be in a group practice or who might be in private equity. And it gets back to you have to be uncomfortable with the uncomfortable. But I knew staying in a model because it's familiar isn't the same as staying because it's still working for you, your patients, and or for your life. I made a call to lean into regenerative medicine and non-surgical care. Again, I do the soft wave TRT, class 4 laser, custom orthotics, regenerative allografts, things that let me keep patients out of the OR, keep treatment in-house, and build a practice that didn't run on the same physical toll that having to leave the office with surgery did on me. That pivot is the reason everything I'm about to tell you about the spa was even possible. Because once you've done it once you've proven to yourself that you can rebuild a piece of your practice from scratch, that next pivot gets a little less terrifying. Not easy, just less terrifying. This is the part I think will actually be useful to you. Earlier this year, June 15th, we opened the spa. It was 2 weeks before. June 1st, I had this idea. I started to look. Next door is a med spa in my Claremont office, and then we have a med spa that leases from us in the office we own in Leesburg. And I was really thinking about their business model. They don't accept any insurance, but they have a product. They have something people want that's more on that luxury line item. I think about dermatologists who have that in their office. I think about plastic surgeons that have that in their office. And I really thought about how people do want pretty feet. Think about how many times people come to your office. They want pretty feet, who have yucky skin, who have nasty toenails, and they want them to look pretty. And I thought, what can we do as podiatrists that puts us into that realm, that puts us into that kind of aesthetic realm besides just the laser for nail fungus? So I decided on June 1st to build a medical spa service line inside my Claremont practice. Not a separate business, not a separate building, a new layer inside the practice that I already run. It did start with a simple observation. I had patients coming in for nail fungus, for nail care, for basic foot maintenance, and I was either underserving that need or sending the revenue somewhere else entirely. So I decided to build a spa room. I didn't just add pedicures to the schedule. I built about 5 different tiers of waterless pedicure services. I've always had KeriFlex in my office, but I was the person doing it. And to the extent that I didn't love doing KeriFlex, but I knew that was a little bit different than me seeing a diabetic foot care and getting paid $42. KeriFlex, in order to have the time in the room with a specialist and have this procedure done, my treatment protocol for KeriFlex is I would go in, I would perform the service, and they would leave with the kit. And that's their responsibility to bring it back. That first visit, I would charge $400, and they get the kit to go. Then the patient comes back every 6, 8 weeks, whatever, or they never come back. They figure out how to do it themselves, and that's not my business. But so we've always had KeriFlex, but I didn't love doing it. We have a nail tech now that she does it, and she does it in the spa room. I will say the spa room for us in our office, we have 7 treatment rooms. There's 2 of us. We're doing a lot more of the regenerative medicine, so we're not in rooms every 15 minutes. For our office, we book 45-minute to an hour appointments for new patients, depending on what it is. And then our follow-ups are a half hour. So everybody's space on the schedule for me to take 2 rooms, Tim to take 2 rooms, and we still had overflow. I mean, I probably have one more room. I could make a luxury spa room. Had the KeriFlex already for the damaged nails. But then I thought, what if we can make a really fancy room, which I'll talk to you about how much that cost, hire a nail tech who would do some pedicure services. So it took me 2 weeks. I had somebody paint the room for us. Our floors had just got redone in that room. And in a 2-week time period, replaced lights, gotten a new chair, which kind of sucks. And then we put a mid-mark chair in the room. I didn't want to spend a lot of money, and I didn't want to have a lot of cash up front out of my pocket. So I have a Home Depot. I have a Home Depot credit card. So I used my Home Depot card. Home Depot has a lot of cute furniture. So I bought 2 little chairs. The 2 chairs from Home Depot cost me, I think it was to have these 2 cute brown chairs, cost me $230. I bought a very nice piece of furniture for our nail tech to have supplies inside, but just looks very pretty on the outside. I did spend $400 on that. I already had a mini fridge. I took a mini fridge from home. I had a mini fridge up in a playroom that we didn't even have anything in it. So I brought that to the office. I stocked it with some fun snacks and drinks. I went on Amazon. I bought an espresso machine. The espresso machine cost me less than $200 and some coffees. I did one of the big things I bought was a water feature. It cost like $500, but people love that thing. And then some artwork. I think the total amount to get everything in the spa was around $1,200, maybe just a little bit more. It was not over $1,500. I already had a TV in that room because that used to be our kids' playroom. So The spa was all set to go. We already had instruments. And then what I did was I sat with my spa person and we decided what products we wanted to have in the office. So we decided on the Ghee Wall line for right now, but I'm looking to see if I can even do maybe our own little spa line. I just didn't want to spend a whole lot up front. I reached out to Dr. Remedy. Dr. Remedy did hook me up with being able to purchase one of every color they own. And my nail tech and we've worked together in the past. We have individual disposable little nail brushes. So we're not reusing the same nail brush. We're not reusing the same nail brush from person to person. I think we bought 1,000 of them and it wasn't more than $40. It was really cheap. So we had the polish going. I did order a steamer. So I have to add that to my grand total. The steamer cost $100. And then I bought Brooke a light. I'll put pictures in so you can see what they look like, what everything looks like. The room turned out beautiful. The TV is a huge TV, and we go to YouTube. And while patient clients is really what we're referring to, because we have people that come in there that are not our patients. They're people that came from the outside world, seeing their videos on YouTube. Facebook's the big one. People see we run some Facebook ads, and we're getting some good feedback from that, and from Instagram and Facebook. People were interested. I think our first, and it was very cheap, like the ROI is very high on that. So very interesting. But so the room set, great. Took 2 weeks. Before the room was ready, I already had opened Brooke's schedule and I wanted to keep it cost effective. So what the deal I worked out with Brooke is she started out 2 days a week. For the first 2 weeks, she worked 2 days a week. Her first 2 weeks there, she did 6 total pedicures and 1 Keriflex. Of the 6 pedicures, one was booked as a $300 nail fungus with laser pedicure. So that is one that requires the podiatrist to be in the room to perform the laser. And Brooke does all of the preparation and she just grabs one of us and we dictate. The person has a chart because we use Jane app. It works really nicely. That's our EHR and also our billing. And yeah, she grabs us. We go in, we do the laser, and then she finishes the pedicure. That first $300 pedicure, when I went in the room, I talked to the patient, very honest with the patient that what they were doing was very similar to ours, pay as you go. And that we charge $300 pay as you go for the laser if they come in on the doctor side. On the pedicure side, the pay as you go seems like a pretty good deal because they get the pedicure as well. And that person converted to an 877. So yeah, Brooke saw 7 people, 8 with the Keriflex patient was so happy. She booked for 6 weeks from now. She's somebody who's had it done somewhere else, and that's what she wanted to do. Had 3 patients that were men, that their wives all made the pedicure for them because they want it done. We have a doctor on staff at all times. We have a podiatrist on staff at all times. So if there's any issues or problems, Brooke just comes and gets us. She had 5 Medi-Pedis. We charge $150 for the Medi-Pedis. She had the Keriflex. She had the 877. 5. So she had 5 Medi-Pedis at $150. She had the Keriflex at $400. She had a neuropathy pedicure, which was one where I came in, I explained all things neuropathy. The patient decided she wanted to do the laser. I performed the laser, and after the laser, Brooke did the pedicure. And that charged us $300 and then convert it. So she had $750 plus $400 plus $300 plus $877. So I just put Brooke on the schedule, and from all of those pedicures she did, that doesn't sound like a lot, right? She worked 2 days the first week, 2 days the second week. So she was able to see 5, 6, 7, 8, only 8 people, 2 days of work. I pay Brooke $18 an hour, and she gets 10% commission. She's very happy, but I'm also very happy. So she worked 4 days. Of those 4 days, she worked 7 hours each day. So she made $504 an hour, and she made us another $200 from her 10% commission. She made a commission After her commission and what I paid her for those 4 days, we still walked away with $1,600 in a room that we weren't using. And she only saw 6 people. I didn't have to be in the room except to laser 2 of them. So that kind of worked out pretty good. I didn't have to do any of the grinding or any of that stuff. So the next 2 weeks got a little bit more interesting. I kept thinking, as far as concern for nail fungus, that's a lot of the cosmetic issue that puts you in a real potential to see these patients, help them, but also give them options. So when I was seeing the 877 that we saw in the first 2 weeks, that patient asked me, do you have any packages for anybody that does the laser who also does the spa? So I thought, not yet. So I really slept on it this weekend, and then I kind of did some math, and I thought, I just don't want anybody in that room. If I can keep it so that if she's not doing the Medi-Pedi and they're doing the laser stuff, I want it to be at least $200 a visit. So what I did was I came up very similar, again, because I think a confused mind says no, and I want my staff to be able to be like, oh yeah, the laser is this, and this is what it's included. So came up with, and this is a true story, we came up with this past weekend a 1577 laser and pedi. So it's a 6 and 6. They come in. I am encouraging them to come in once a month for the next 6 months. And each time they come in, Brooke will do the cleaning of the nails, making them thinned out, looking good. I can come in and laser them. I saw my first patient this morning who, no lie, 8 a.m. patient. We talked about the options. We talked about laser versus oral. I talked to her about not getting the nails painted if she did the pedicure, only because I want her to be able to use the topical. Patient had no problem with that. She decided to go with the 1577. She did her first spa right after she saw me. She left so happy. And that's one patient. Brooke was there today she saw 2 other pedicures today, 2 just Medi-Pedis. So we did the 1577, which I am giving her a percentage of all of the packages. So she has a percentage of the 1577 that we did today. She's doing all the pretty work. I'm just doing the easy work. And then she gets a percentage of the Medi-Pedis. She gets a percentage of everything. If she sells a product, so it doesn't have to be perfect as you're trying to do something like this, because you're going to have ideas. For example, when the patient asked me, the 877 patient for nail fungus asked me about pedicures, I had not even thought, I wasn't even like the idea of having a bundle of pedicures. I just wasn't ready for that. So now I am. So the 6 for 6, I think, is going to be actually really good. I think it's going to be really good. I will say pricing this new service line when you have 0 internal comps, it is kind of hard. I had to think about from multiple angles, the cost of the laser, staff time, product costs, what similar med spa offerings are that run in the market, and what a patient is actually willing to pay for something out of pocket, something insurance won't touch. I didn't get it perfect on the first pass. I don't think anyone does, but I think what I started with is pretty simple. We don't negate that this is a medical procedure that they're also having. And as a part, if you don't acknowledge that and skip it, I think that will get you in trouble. I built consent forms specifically for these services inside my Jane app. That's what we use. I made it very clear the difference patients and clients, when they come in, they sign a consent saying they understand that this is not medically necessary care, that it is an elective spa service. I do feel like that's being compliant, and it's the difference between a service line and a liability. Brooke is my licensed nail technician, and she's the one actually delivering a huge amount of service day to day, but she didn't start as an expert in my protocols. I built phone scripts for all of the people who answer phones in my office. So when patients are asking about fungus package, whoever picks up the phone can explain accurately and confidently. I had to teach Brooke how to talk to the patient about the laser as well, so she could explain that. So if somebody came with a medical pedicure, we could also, if they wanted to do the laser, we could do that. It's just me or Dr. Henny would also have to do that. A great idea with an untrained frontline falls apart at the very first phone call. And then there's part like I'm genuinely, I believe it or not, I'm genuinely uncomfortable that I had to promote the spa with so much, but I did it. And I did it every way you could possibly do it. I used AI. My kids make fun of me, but I don't care because I also was trying to do work at the same time and get other projects done that I'm working on. And yeah, I used AI to make a bunch of videos on HeyGen, and I have no shame in that. You have to be comfortable, be able to get the word out there by any means necessary. But yeah, I have a video where my head is huge on the screen explaining all the services, the bundles, what they can expect. I'm the one on the screen, not a stock actor, not an AI character is me, and sometimes my AI character. So that was not comfortable for me. It just wasn't. Here's what I learned. I think patients trust the doctor's voice. Patients trust the doctor's voice more than any polished ad. If you're building something new, you don't want to hide behind a brochure. You have to be willing to be the face of the thing you built. You have to be able to discuss it with the patient. And to the point of you being comfortable to just put as much stuff out there, as much content out there about your spa, about that thing. When we started doing DPMX or Liposana, I did tons of videos because I wanted to let people know this was something we're implementing. So I wanted people to know that. You have to be comfortable with that. When we started doing 3D printing custom orthotics, I have so many videos of 3D printing custom orthotics. But the reason I say that is because there are a lot of people, and I see this in a couple of different Facebook groups, and people, even just in the middle of me making the spa, in one of the groups I'm in, somebody was complaining about a nail technician who's doing medi-pedis in their neighborhood, and they're charging $260 for a medi-pedi, and their initial reaction was to be upset, and what should we do? How do we stop this? And I think, dang, if people in your local community are paying somebody who's not a doctor to perform that service, you need to convert a room right now in your office, hire a nail tech, train them to do what you want them to do. Because if they're paying $262 to go see a nail tech who has no medical background, they're going to pay you more. So you're struggling to get $42 from Medicare for cutting a diabetic's toenails, and that lady down the street is driving her Mercedes, and people are willing to pay for luxury, they're willing to pay for good service, and they're willing to pay for outcomes. So if you can provide all three and you have your doctor degree, you're gonna have those people come in. But you can't do it. You can't do it shitty. You have to have a good process and you have to have a good person working for you. But don't let somebody else take something. This is the part in podiatry. The aesthetic part in podiatry is this medi-pedi. I kept saying to my husband, hey, I think we need to do some type of package with the laser. And that's when I came up with the 6 for 6. First patient I saw, like I said, $1,577, 6 for 6. And it's all possible. You just have to kind of get out of your mindset that no one's going to pay that. Because the difference between somebody not wanting to pay the doctor and somebody not wanting to pay that lady down the street, the $262, is the experience. And the experience of that medi-pedi spa, every person that's booked with Brooke for just a medical pedicure has rebooked for a month later. The dry pedicure, it's waterless. She does a steam massage, hot towels, and it smells wonderful in that room. And the room is so gorgeous. So that's the thing. You don't have to be busy right away, but if you have the right packaging, the right messaging, you could be busy enough to make a little bit of profit and then keep building on that. So if you're listening, I think it's okay to say, where do I even start? Before we wrap up, I want to leave you with one thought. Don't overcomplicate this. You don't need to build a luxury spa overnight. You don't need to remodel your entire office and spend hours and hundreds of thousands of dollars. Just start. As you're watching this video, you can see me doing a class 4 laser treatment, and then Brooke comes in with a massage, the warm towels, all of the little details that make it feel like a true luxury experience. We didn't get here all at once. We built it piece by piece. What I love about adding a medi-pedi is that it positions your practice in a completely different market. These aren't just patients looking for medical care. These are people in your community already spending $200, $250, and sometimes even more for premium self-care services. The question is, why can't that experience happen in your podiatry office? If you already own a laser, start thinking creatively. Offer an antifungal pedicure. Create the athletic recovery pedicure that we're working on for runners and weekend warriors. Design a neuropathy wellness pedicure. Combine treatments that make clinical sense while delivering experience people genuinely want. You don't have to copy all of what I'm talking about, but build something on your own. All right, guys, this is Michelle McGowan, Podiatry Unfiltered. I hope you enjoyed this episode.